What if I told you that a quiet wave is moving across America and it's not trending because of an algorithm? It's trending because people are walking through actual doors and finding something they didn't expect. Peace, purpose, and people who remember their name. Watch till the end because I'll share one simple field test you can try in any city to see if this renewal is real, plus a bonus insight that almost everyone overlooks but you can spot in under 5 minutes. You've seen the posts. You've heard the debates. Some say faith is fading. Some say it's finished. But then you step into a parish on a random weeknight and the story on the ground looks different. You catch a glimpse of 20-somethings in a dim chapel, a pair of friends lighting candles after a tough exam, a small crowd waiting their turn for confession, a couple of students planning a service day over coffee in a corner. None of this is loud. None of it is perfect. But it's steady, and it is spreading one personal invitation at a time. The most surprising part? A lot of those faces are Gen Z students, young workers, creatives, gamers, nurses, baristas, coders, people who grew up online but are now choosing something offline because it makes them more human. Let's be honest about the mix. Some signs are clear and public: event calendars, posted adoration hours, visible groups after Massachusetts. Other signs are softer: texts that say, "See you at 7," DMs that turn into carpool plans, whispered, "Pray for me" moments after class. Not every parish looks the same, and not every city moves at the same pace. But the pattern keeps popping up across campuses, suburbs, and small towns. It looks like community before ideology. It feels like beauty before arguments. It sounds like truth spoken gently, not shouted. And it works because it respects the way young people live now. Short messages, real schedules, less performance, more presence. A big reason for the shift is belonging. Real belonging. Gen Z knows how to connect, but connection is not the same as community. Dosty and belonging come when a place is predictable and people show up for you. A parish that remembers your name after one visit, offers normal coffee without a sales pitch, and makes space for newcomers without awkward spotlights feels like oxygen. Maybe a grad student hosts a small group in a living room. Maybe a young couple opens their apartment for a game night after Thursday adoration. Maybe a retired teacher keeps the hall open for study sessions during finals week. None of that goes viral. All of that builds home. Beauty is another draw, and it's deeper than the aesthetic you see on your feed. Life is noisy. Feeds sprint. Deadlines stare. A quiet lit church is like stepping into a different time zone where the heart can exhale. Even a simple daily mass with clear readings and a short, honest homily changes the tone of a day. Candlelight. A hymn done well. A choir that praised its music. The rhythm of standing, sitting, kneeling. The sign of peace shared without force. These gestures move body and soul together. You don't have to understand every doctrine first. Beauty makes room to ask better questions. Beauty helps the restless mind rest. Quick 25% nudge if you're still here. The next two reasons don't sound religious at first, but they're quietly pulling more young people back than any ad campaign. Clarity matters. Not the harsh, cold kind. The kind that tells the truth with warmth and patience. If you grew up scrolling through 1,000 views in a day, you can smell spin. You don't need a priest with a PhD to preach like a TED Talk. You need someone who listens first, names what the church actually teaches, admits where people failed to live it, and then shows how to walk one step at a time. A catechist who explains the why behind the what. A youth minister who says, "I don't know, let me find out." A parish that posts its beliefs online in plain language so seekers don't have to dig through PDFs. When clarity is gentle and consistent, it feels like a solid floor under uncertain feet. Mental health is another open door. Anxiety is high. Loneliness bites. Burnout is real. And many discover that a dark chapel at 9 p.m. does something that an extra hour of scrolling cannot. Silence slows the pulse. Confession resets a tired soul. A priest who says, "Take your time. God is not in a rush," gives permission to breathe. Peer groups that allow real talk, without turning every meeting into a trauma dump, help hearts unclench. It's not therapy, and it doesn't pretend to be. It's a humane rhythm. Pray, talk, rest, repeat. When parishes also offer practical resources, referrals for counseling, grief support, gentle retreats, People sense that church is not a performance hall. It's a place to be human in front of God. Service gives all this traction. Gen Z wants to do something that matters now, not someday after you're trained to death. A parish that feeds neighbors every week, organizes blood drives, supports moms and babies, visits the elderly, tutors kids, cleans up local parks, or partners with shelters provides on-ramps that are both simple and meaningful. Show up at 8, pack boxes, pray as you load the van, eat pizza after, come back next month. When you serve with people on Saturday, the sign of peace on Sunday lands in a different part of the heart. Mission gives prayer a pulse. Prayer gives mission a spine. Around here we're close to 50%, so quick mid-video CTA. If this breakdown is helping you see what's happening, tap like so it reaches someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe if you want more simple deep dives you can test in your own city without drama or jargon. Let's talk about the online to offline bridge. A reel of a quiet chapel at sunset. A short testimony about adoration. A podcast episode that explains confession without shaming anyone. A vlog of a campus retreat that shows laughter as well as prayer. These small seeds travel far. But seeds need soil. The handoff is everything. Someone has to reply when the DM says, "Is anyone going to the 7 p.m.?" Someone has to notice the new face by the door and say, "Sit with us." Someone has to plan an unhurried coffee after Mass where the point is just to be together. When that handoff becomes habit, curiosity becomes commitment without pressure. Campus hubs matter. Newman Centers, missionary teams, and parish young adult nights are mixing the same simple ingredients with local flavor. Free dinner, a short talk that respects attention spans, adoration with music that helps the room pray, confession for whoever wants it, and then hanging out without rush. Dosti begins there. You don't need a fog machine or a celebrity guest. You need a room that says welcome with its setup, a host who can remember names, and a plan that ends at a reasonable hour because students have labs and workers have shifts. The proof is in the calendar. When events repeat with consistency, friendships grow roots. Now let's make it practical. If you want to see whether this comeback is real in your city, try a walkthrough test. Visit a parish on a random weekday evening. If the campus is dark, it might simply be a slow season or a planning gap. If one building is lit and you hear a small crowd in a hall and see a few people sliding into a chapel, you're near something alive. Check the website. If events and groups are clearly listed with simple RSVP links and points of contact who reply, that's a green flag. If the confession schedule includes at least one evening slot, that's another. If adoration is offered after dinner once a week, people will come because the time respects real lives. Language matters too. Hinglish, Spanglish, a blend of local slang and simple English. It's not unholy, it's hospitable. A welcome that sounds like your neighborhood lands faster than a script. You'll hear AAP AA gay, Chelo coffee P chalt in one corridor and bienvenido, ven con nosotros in another. And you'll realize that this diversity is not an add-on. It's the church being herself. Feasts that bring processions and food from different cultures teach more than a lecture. A Black Catholic choir leading one Sunday, a Tagalog hymn at a Marian celebration, a Vietnamese Thanksgiving song after communion. A room that sings many languages tells every newcomer, you belong. No one can ignore the weight of pain. Scandals left scars. Some wounds feel fresh. Renewal does not hide that truth. Parishes that name failures, care for victims, publish clear policies, and teach with humility create a safer space for healing. Young people do not expect perfection. They expect honesty. A priest who says, "We failed here, and we're changing this process," shows courage. A parish that practices accountability and transparency earns trust slowly. And yes, slowly is the only speed that matters here. Mercy is stronger than image management. Compassion speaks louder than a polished brand. Here's a tension that many feel but rarely say out loud. Some come back for community and beauty, but they stay for doctrine lived in love. The Eucharist stops being a concept and becomes a presence. Genesis stops being a meme and becomes a story that explains the ache and the hope. The saints stop being wallpaper and become friends. A Lenten fast becomes more than a diet. It becomes a way to free your desire so it can love better. None of that arrives with a single event. It grows in seasons, with patient teachers and honest conversations and habits that reshape the week. Music shapes the room for better or worse. You don't need a band that sounds like a tour bus just pulled up. You need songs that a room can own, clarity of words, keys that normal people can sing, a leader who prays before playing, a tech volunteer who thinks about volume and echo so grandparents and kids can both hear. In some parishes, that looks like chant with simple harmonies. In others, a guitarist and cantor with a few well-chosen hymns. When the music serves the prayer instead of stealing the scene, hearts settle and stay. We're somewhere near 75%, so here's a retention nudge. Keep going, because a 2-part field test is coming that you can try this week to see if renewal is brewing where you live, plus one bonus sign that almost no one measures, but it tells the truth faster than any survey. Let's zoom into sacraments in everyday life. Baptisms tell a story of tomorrow. If the font is busy and godparents look like they just left campus or just started new jobs, that signals life. Weddings reveal how community forms. When you hear "we met in Bible study" during the homily, you realize that program tables and coffee lines matter. Confession lines show a culture of mercy. When you see athletes and artists and tired parents waiting quietly, it means shame is lowering and trust is rising. And the Eucharist, the center of it all, changes how a week feels when Sunday becomes the anchor instead of the afterthought. Stories help, so picture this. A sophomore who stopped going to church after high school stumbles onto a short video about adoration. It looks peaceful. She messages the account and gets a reply that says, "We're there tonight at 8. Sit with us." She goes, afraid she won't fit in. The room is small, the music is simple, the silence is long. Someone hands her a booklet with the prayers. Afterward, the group walks to a taco truck and no one interrogates her. They ask about her studio project and her shift schedule. A week later, she returns, this time a little early. A month later, she's helping with setup. 6 months later, she's the one who texts a classmate, "I saved you a seat." You can't write that story into a strategy doc, but you can make room for it to happen. Let's address a fair question. What about places that tried and didn't see fruit? Often the missing piece is rhythm. Events launch, then stop. Leaders burn out because everything relies on a tiny team. The fix is not hype, it's habits. Shorten the talk. Lengthen the hangout. Ask 2 new people each month to carry one small task. Rotate music volunteers so no one is on every week. Keep a shared calendar people can trust. Provide childcare when you can. Share rides. Say thank you. Celebrate small wins without pretending they are big wins. Renewal grows like a field, not like fireworks. We're near 90%, so don't bounce yet. Your 2-step field test and the bonus insight are next, and they take less than 15 minutes to use in the real world. Here's step 1 of the test. Look at confession and adoration times. Does the parish offer at least one evening confession window each week? Not only Saturday before Mass? Is there adoration after dinner at least once weekly, even if only for an hour? If yes, leadership is aligning prayer with modern schedules. If those hours are growing or accompanied by simple socials, the demand is probably rising under the radar. If these hours don't exist yet, it doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the first lever to try is time. Step 2 of the test lives at the font and in the parish office schedule. Kindly ask how far out baptisms are booked and what preparation looks like. If bookings are 4 to 8 weeks out with a mix of last names, languages, and ages of godparents, that's a signal. It says young families and friend groups trust the community enough to bring big moments into it. Do the same check for wedding prep. If weekends are filling a season ahead and marriage mentors are active, it often correlates with healthy small groups and strong Sunday hospitality. These 2 checks, prayer that fits life and sacraments that fill calendars, show movement before anyone writes a blog about a boom. Here's the bonus insight almost no one tracks because it's unglamorous. Watch the rotas, the volunteer lists. If you regularly see teens and 20-somethings reading at Mass, greeting at doors, helping with tech, teaching kids, leading music, and running service drives, you're not watching an audience. You're watching owners. When ownership shifts to younger shoulders, the culture tilts from consumer to contributor. That shift outlasts fads. It carries people through job changes, city moves, and family seasons. It's not loud, it's faithful, and it quietly multiplies. One more practical idea that works in big cities and small towns. Pair a first step night with a next step invite built in. First step, something simple and low pressure, like pizza and a short Q backslash and A with a priest and a lay leader about how to start praying when you don't know how. End on time. Offer a card with 2 next steps. A weekly holy hour with music and a service team that meets Saturday. No guilt, just clarity. Here's prayer, here's mission, choose one or try both. People appreciate a clear door and a clear hallway. Mystery belongs to God, not to your sign-up process. Let's talk about welcome one last time because it's the engine. Great preaching will not fix a cold foyer. Excellent music will not heal an ignored newcomer. 100 likes on a post will not carry a shy student from the sidewalk to a pew. But one steady habit will: humans who notice humans. A smile that includes the eyes. A "this is where we keep the extra missiles." A "want to sit with us?" A "we're headed for chai. You're invited." That's it. That wins in every zip code and every era. It costs nothing but attention and a little courage. I want to name expectations because false promises break trust. No one is saying every church will overflow next week. No one is claiming that every young adult will return because the doors are open late. Some parishes are small. Some are tired. Some leaders are stretched thin. And yet, small steps bring real change. One evening confession. One extra hour of adoration. One consistent young adult meal per month. One service partner. One habit of learning names. A year later, you look around and realize the room feels different. You smell coffee and candle wax and you hear quiet laughter and you see a line at the font and you sense that hope has taken a seat. There's also the matter of courage. Returning to church can feel risky for someone who left hurt or confused. That first walk back in can feel like stepping onto a stage. This is where peers matter. A text that says, "I'll wait by the door." A promise that you'll slide into the back pew if that feels safer. An understanding that no one will force a group intro or a public prayer. A willingness to leave early if it's too much. Courage grows when people feel protected. That kind of care is not a program. It's friendship doing holy work. You might be wondering where parents and mentors fit into this story. They are not the whole reason, but they are often the quiet bridge. A dad who says, "I'll go with you." A mom who says, "I'll watch the kids while you go to the retreat." A teacher who writes a recommendation for a service trip. A coach who asks about confession the same way he asks about hydration. When older generations cheer this return with gentle hearts and open hands, the space feels safer. No finally, no about time. Just "we're glad you're here. If you're still with me, thank you." That alone says you care about something bigger than a news cycle. Here's the final shape of the story as I see it. Gen Z is not returning because of trends. They're returning because they are finding a way to be fully human with God. Together. Belonging that doesn't smother. Beauty that doesn't perform. Clarity that doesn't crush. Quiet that heals. Service that matters. Friendship that shows up on time. Sacraments that hold on when life shakes. That mix is not a trick. It is the church being herself. If this gave you hope or a plan you can try, hit like so it reaches someone who needs it, and subscribe for more calm, practical guides you can test in real life. Drop one comment to help others. Which single step? Extended confession, late adoration, clearer invitations, or consistent service would help young people take their next step where you live?